Kia ora tātou, welcome back to the Wargaming Den. This week's game is another game of O Group. Yesterday I popped around to Keith's place and we had a game in 15mm. I was defending with a late war British force and Keith was attacking with his late war Germans. Let's have a look at the army lists. So you roll to see how many points you get. As a defender I got 15 plus a d6, which gave me 19 points. So basically it was the force I used last time against Keith, except I downgraded the 2 Cromwells to 2 Shermans. Thought I'd have a wee bit of mobility and see how that worked. Now we don't declare what forces each has got until we turn up, so I really had no idea. I just wanted to use the force I used last time. Keith had gone for an interesting attacking German list of 28 points. He had his rifle companies, 2 medium machine gun sections. I've got a newfound respect for medium machine guns, 2 Stug Gs, and he had 5 reconnaissance vehicles to scout with his list, which I found quite intriguing and thought, aha, that's what I need to be doing in future. So his force, because of the number of supports, ended up a large battalion. So to break my company, I needed to lose 12 stands or vehicles, and Keith needed to lose 14. So let's have a look at the table. Okay, so here's a look at the table that Keith had set up. A very nice table. I'm defending, and I'm defending from halfway, so I can deploy from this line down. You kind of break your companies up into, they have their own area of operations and they don't cross the boundary lines. So I just used the edge of this village and field, and then straight up here, and then followed the road system. That was my company boundary. So I said 1 company on this side, 1 on the other. I had 3 objectives, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, for my reserves to come on from. And when we rolled for the first turn, I rolled 5 6s, so I got 5 platoons or units in ambush. So put the Shermans in here, and then I had 4 infantry platoons scattered across in terrain. So otherwise terrain, you can see the hills. These are orchards which don't block line of sight, here, here, and here, and then the green ones over here, here, and here are woods, which are line of sight blocking terrain. So lots of terrain, should be an interesting game. So for the initial deployment, you roll 9 dice and you consult this table to see what happens. As the defender, the British got 5 5s and 6s, which is units that could be placed in ambush, and we've just seen those. And I got 4 regular dice roll, which means I get to patrol, deploy 4 combat patrols. Keith, in response, these ones meant that I lost an infantry platoon and an additional section from my reserves. They don't make it to the battlefield. These dice here mean that he can deploy 4 combat patrols, and the 5s and 6s are units that deploy on table. So that's the initial deployment for this particular game. So orders for turn 1, the British had 3 battalion orders, 5 regular orders, and the 1 meant that I lost an order, and the Germans got 6 regular orders and 3 battalion orders. And on the dice roll to see who got initiative, I won as the Germans, as the British, but I had nothing to do, so I gave the initiative to the Germans to see what they would do. Not a great deal of action on turn 1. I use the combat patrol to deploy a staghound in my turn, and I've got combat patrols scattered across the front. I've got one here trying to push the Germans back, one here, and one in the wood over there. In response, the Germans have snuck up armoured cars here. Keith did a lot of using the reconnaissance ability of the armoured cars, but throughout the game he failed to reveal any of the areas of terrain that he was scouting. Kept rolling 1s, 2s or 3s. He's got a combat patrol here. He's got another armoured car here, and this one is, I think it is suppressed. I used 2 orders from the staghound to hit this armoured car twice. Another armoured car scouting forward over here as well. And I don't think I can see any other. There's a team back here. I'm not sure. I think that's a company command team. There's a forward observer in here somewhere. That's his battalion HQ. So Keith did a really good scouting the whole way through the game. I was really impressed to see how you should be using reconnaissance, and the penny dropped and I was going, I think I need more reconnaissance next time I'm the attacker. So yeah, it was a good learning experience from that point of view. Order dice. The British got 7 regular orders, 1 battalion order. So I'm up to what, 3, 5? I'm up to 4 battalion orders. 1 didn't count, and the Germans got 2, 4, 6 regular orders, 1 battalion 1, and 2 orders that don't count. So turn 2, the Germans are pressing forward with lots of reconnaissance units, and a lucky mortar strike killed 1. My armoured cars forgot to have some gunnery practice beforehand and missed though, so on to turn 3. And here we have the order dice for turn 3. So I had 2 failed orders, 1 battalion order, 6 regular orders, and in response Keith got 5 regular orders and 5 battalion orders, 4 regular orders. I think I managed to win the initiative again though. I've got initiative for 90% of this game. The orders are a key part of the game. Each order you use, you can move 1 unit or fire it. You can use your company commanders to give a second order, and then you roll on a table to see what the additional cost is. So you could fire a unit, then use a company order to fire it again, but it might cost you somewhere between 1 and 3 of your orders to do that. Bringing in artillery costs 2 dice for the first round if it's battalion mortars. The following round, if it's on the same target, it only costs 1 order. So you've never got enough orders to do everything you want to do. So the game is really about focusing on the parts of the battlefield that you really need to concentrate. You can also use orders to interrupt the other player's turn and have a reaction. Say they fire at you, you can then have a reaction and have a unit fire back at the unit that just fired on your troops. Battalion orders, they count towards the dice roll to see who gets initiative each turn, and you can only hold a maximum of 6. And in the early turns you tend to have 5 or 6 battalion orders, but as the game progresses and you've got to do more stuff, you start nibbling away at your battalion orders. As you can see, you need a 6 to replenish them, so you get a bit of a critical stage where you might only have 1 or 2 battalion orders and lots of things you want to do. So the real key to the game is around the orders phase, what orders you use, when, and whether or not to husband them. Sometimes it's worth keeping the pressure on your opponent and really throwing out lots of orders. Other times you want to be a bit more cautious. If you roll 3 1s on the dice rolls to see how many orders you get, that means that one of your on-table companies goes hesitant and can't actually do very much at all that turn. So that's a bit of a double-edged sword. And when you get a foobar, which is when you've lost 4 stands or units of or platoons of infantry, you've got one less die. So the closer you get to the breaking point of the army, the fewer order dice you have, the harder it is to do everything. So each turn is about weighing up the options as to what you want to do. So adds a really nice flow to the game and lots of decision points. So it's quite a clever mechanic in that regard.
Right, turn three. The Germans got rid of a combat patrol, squished it under the armored car, and they got rid of another combat patrol over here. Their armored car took a shot at the staghound, but it bounced off, and then they retreated. And I think their mortar rained down fire and destruction and got the staghound. No, it was this guy, little 250/8. And then over here, the infantry advanced into the field, and I tried to hit it with as much as I could. The Shermans came off ambush, infantry, mortars. I managed to suppress it and get one stand. So the Germans are pushing up through here and this way, and they're sneaking around that way. I'm not really sure where the main attack is due, but we will find out maybe on turn 4.
Just before we move on to turn 4, bit of an overview of that turn. So the Shermans here ambushed as a platoon and tried to hit the infantry in here. Also used the combat patrol to deploy a platoon with the medium machine gun attached. They also hit them, mortars hit them ranged in, managed to suppress them and kill one stand. Meanwhile, the mortar, the previous turn had killed that half track. The 250 with the short 75 knocked out my staghound. I can't remember if it actually knocked it out or did a second damage, and then the mortar finished it off, but something like that. Over here, I ambushed with a platoon, and their Piat missed the recon. So as you can see, Keith's been pushing his recon forward here. He's got scouts up here. He's cleared a gap through here. He's also got another 250/8 with a Stummel supporting the infantry here. So I've got to do something about this attack that's building along the railway line. And we'll see what his response is to my Shermans. I wasn't sure whether or not to deploy them early, but the first game I played, the Shermans actually did a great job. So I thought, let's get them out there and get shooting while we can. So yeah, interesting play. And I really like the feel of the game. As you can see, the battlefield's pretty empty. And that's because a lot of it is about the placement of your combat patrols and sneaking around. So you're never really sure what your opponent's going to pop out when they do deploy a combat patrol. So yeah, there's a lot of uncertainty in the game, and I like that feel of it. It plays really, really well. The more I play it, the more I'm appreciating the subtleties in the rule. So yeah, thoroughly enjoying it. Another good dice roll for order dice for me. Another 6 battalion orders and 4 regular orders, and 1 didn't count. And in response, Keith had 1 battalion order, 6 regular orders, and 2 that weren't going to give him any orders. So again, the British held on to the initiative.
Very eventful turn 4. The British got initiative. We managed to destroy the platoon in there. The Germans did a lot of firing and mortars and everything and machine guns. Then the Germans came back, and they managed to put a couple of pins and suppress the infantry there. At the end of the turn, they're moving forward into the central area. I'll just try and the Stugs came on and hit both of the Shermans, but one was damaged and the other took 2 suppression. So the Germans are starting to pile on the pressure as we roll on to turn 5.
Just before we move on, this little marker shows that Keith has ranged in his mortars onto the orchard with the Shermans. I knocked out a second armoured car. Because he's attacking, the first two reconnaissance units that are destroyed don't count as losses for him. So from now on, though, I can start taking out some armoured cars and getting points for them. Here, that platoon is destroyed, so that's 3 losses there. Keith has also deployed a platoon from a combat patrol into this area here, and I've got a platoon, a combat patrol here. 5 dice here for the Shermans. That shows, this is how I show when I've used my orders. I put down one of these little tokens. So in this case, my Shermans fired, and we put some suppression and stuff on both of the stugs, maybe damaged one. I then used another order and ended up costing me 3 orders to fire again, and I have no idea what the 5th one there is from, but yeah, should have probably been 4. But so that just shows how you've only got a limited number of orders, and this Sherman has itself taken 4 of my orders, and I was also firing artillery ranged in down here on the stugs, I think, and these guys were firing over there. So that's 3 things have basically used up the majority of my orders, and Keith was the same. I had the initiative, and he was using a lot of reaction fire against my troops. So really quite a fluid dynamic once it gets underway. Really enjoyable. And once again, I got a lot of battalion orders. So my battalion orders are giving me a +6 on my initiative dice roll. I got 4 regular orders. Keith got 9 regular orders, no battalion orders, and he was down to 1 or 2 battalion orders, I think, at this point. So once again, the British held the initiative.
A lot of action on turn 5. The Shermans and my regimental artillery damaged one of the stugs. I deployed an ambush and then used the company order to charge and drove back the German infantry there. I took a foo bar. The one Sherman got knocked out by the stugs here, and the company commander got hit by the artillery, which didn't damage the Sherman, and I lost the company commander in a foo bar. So we're both on 1 foo bar. Interesting though, there are lots of reactions, so it's pretty hard to remember what responded to what, but it makes the game flow quite fluidly. So on to turn 6 with both of us with about 5 losses.
And we are calling this a textbook charge by the British. I ambushed back on this hill and fired, and then I used another company order, and I rolled a 6. So it only cost me 1 additional order to charge the Germans, who were suppressed, managed to kill 1 stand, and the survivors retreated. So quite happy with the way that played out. And you could see in the video up above, I'd knocked out another armoured car with a Piat up in the wood at the top of the screen. We've both taken a foo bar now, so we're both down to 8 orders dice. So I once again rolled well, 6 regular orders, 2 company command battalion orders. Keith rolled 3 1s, so one of his 2 companies is hesitant, and it is the one on my right, so the one with the stugs attached, and he got 5 regular orders. So hopefully I can use this to my advantage on this turn.
Turn 6, the British artillery continued ranging in on the stugs and badly damaged both of them, but that was rallied off at the end of the turn with 3 rallies. There was a squad where that token is, and they got slaughtered by 2 medium machine guns behind the hedge. They killed 2, and then the last stand ran off. So that gives me 7 towards my foo bars. And over here I managed to suppress that armoured car but not destroy it. So it's still in the balance, but at present the Germans are slightly ahead.
Even though I won the initiative, and the company on this side of the table was hesitant, the game actually swung towards Keith quite markedly at this stage. These infantry platoon here was in close range, so the machine guns could shoot them and did, so I lost 3 there, and the mortars finished off. I think I got another damage result on my Sherman and it was destroyed. So that was basically another foobar right there. And another really important thing from my point of view is his infantry moved backwards. At, I think he tried to rally them and rolled, all the dice were under 4, so they retreated about 10 or 12 centimeters, and it put them out of danger. So I couldn't finish these guys off, and I also was struggling to finish these guys off, and the stugs were both damaged but hadn't been able to finish them either. Really important in the game to focus your fire and take out one unit while the opportunity presents, because otherwise you end up just splitting your fire haphazardly all over the place and not killing anything, and that's kind of what happened there a wee bit. Once again, no ones rolled. I got 1, 2, 3, 6 regular orders and 2 battalion orders, and Keith got 6 regular orders, a battalion order, and 1 that didn't count as an order at all.
The initiative is swinging towards the Germans. The second Sherman was destroyed in a stand over here, and more good rallying from the Germans. So the British have now taken 2 foobars. The Germans are still sitting on 6 losses. So British actually, I think, are now up to 9 on to turn 8.
One of my Shermans did a great job of bouncing off stug shells for a few rounds, but in the end the averages caught up with him and he brewed up, so that was a second Sherman gone. So attrition is really starting to wear at my force now, and the last 2 turns Keith has done 2 rally attempts, one on the stugs, one on an infantry platoon, and both times he got 3 rallies, so was able to recover his units quite markedly, which is a wee bit depressing when you've spent a lot of time focusing, getting up to suppressed, and then you see them come off again, and it's like, oh, we're back to square one again. Nothing wrong with that. That's the way the game plays, but the balance seemed to be shifting towards the Germans at this point. As you can see, as we go into turn 8, I am down to 7 dice because I've got 2 foobars, so less orders to use, 1 battalion order, 4 regular orders, and 2 failed orders. So only a small turn coming out for me, but the dice gods are favouring me, and Keith gets another hesitant company, 2 regular orders, and 3 battalion orders. So this was a very short term because neither of us was able to give many troops orders. I got 5 orders this turn, and Keith got 6 and a battalion die, and he finally took the initiative and used that to finish the British off.
And there we have it. The machine guns have just decimated this platoon, and the British have broken and retreat off the table.
Wow, what a fantastic game. Till about turn 6, I thought it could have gone either way, and if the dice had bounced my way a wee bit, yeah, it could have been a wee bit closer than it ended up. I had the initiative almost all game as the defender, so I was able to exert a lot of pressure. But even without the initiative, Keith was still able to keep his composure and do what he needed to do to take the victory. So well played, Keith. Really liked the way he used his reconnaissance units early on. I'm not sure if the videos capture the subtleties of the game, though. Those combat patrols sneaking their way forward. Is it a bluff? Is he going to deploy a machine gun unit? You know, you don't know what's about to come out. So you're always countering each other, and you've never got as many orders as you would like. Probably my biggest learning curve is a machine gun platoon can throw out a lot of dice. I think they're throwing out 12 dice, and they managed to chew through 6 of the 12 units to break my army. So rather than concentrating on the infantry and stuff, I think I probably should have paid more attention to the infantry, to the machine guns. So there we go, bit of a learning. Still getting to grips with the rules, but really do enjoy the way it plays. Very different to any other game I've played, but I like the way it all holds together. Interesting decisions being made by both players all the way through. Yeah, lots of fun. Highly recommend it. But that's enough for now. Until next time, have a great week and take care. And until next report, ka kite anō.